Bonjour, everyone. Hi. Welcome to Star Nations Organization's Facebook live stream shows, and you are watching The Mystery School. And it is Thursday night, October 25th. Can you believe that? We're already at the end of October. I don't know about you, but McDonald's, where did that come from? I haven't been there in years, literally years. October has really flown by. You know, it's like almost like a blink of the eye, right? And this evening, looking forward to the show with the co-hosts here, and you know, I call Thursday the Elder Day here at Star Nations because the elders of our community have their shows on this last Thursday of the month, and I get very excited about it because I get to produce their shows, and so I get front row seats and literally have something to take notes with because there's always something that is, you know, the light bulb goes on, or it's like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. So get ready because we have quite a show for you tonight. And one of the things that I'd like to ask you is to help us to do something here before we get started with the evening's topic with Ortrun and Carl Franklin, and that is to help us to share out the show. If you wouldn't mind liking the show and sharing it. You can share it to your own timeline if you want, or if you have friends that you think that they would like to have the experience of the Mystery School show, to please share it with them. And the reason why we ask you to do that is because it helps us to be in the newsfeed much more, and it's easier for people to find us. It's kind of like an energy worker's civic duty, right? And so I'm going to do the same thing. I have my phone, and I am going to go to the Mystery School fan page where this is being broadcasted from, and I am going to like the show. There we go. And I'm also going to share it to my timeline and also to the Star Nations Radio Network closed group so that people know that we're here, right? So I really do appreciate that for you to help us. The other thing that I wanted to share with you about is this evening's topic, and that is our masks. And I'm going to bring Carl and Ortrun on, and hang on, we're going to do that right now. Right now. There we go. Hello, you two.
Hi, everyone.
Good to
The
see
dynamic duo of the Mystery School.
Well, thank you so much.
And you guys are looking so good tonight. Ortrun, one of the things about our topic tonight are masks. I do know that our audience, what they like to know about the topic are, how did you even get to that topic? You know, because those people who will be watching with us, there's a reason why they're drawn to certain topics. And so I was hoping that you could explain to them, how did we even get to the topic? And if you're ready, you can always do your meditation at the very beginning if you'd like. I'm going to complete sharing everything out to the different places that we share to. Rob Kendall is with us, by the way.
Hi, Rob.
Hi, Rob.
Hi, Rob. Rob probably knows some of what I'm going to be touching on because we had the pleasure of having him at our mystery school in Grand Rapids last Thursday. And that was something that really just popped into my mind, you know, last week was masks. One of the reasons why that popped into my mind is because of the season, because of the celebrations that we have here in the United States. And I think the United States, and I just spoke with some people from Germany just at dinner tonight, and they said, we don't really get into, you know, Halloween so much. Of course, the practice there is a little bit different, but they don't really care about, you know, dressing up and so on. But Halloween is the time where people actually do wear masks. They choose to dress up as different characters. And of course, Mardi Gras is another time that kind of occasion really happens. So it's almost like it happens at 2 times in the year. So it happens this time of year where we're going into getting close to the dark night, you know, to the time of the moon, and then Mardi Gras is more towards spring, where we are, of course, are So it's harvest and it's then the planting part. So it's the two different parts of the year that we tend to see people really starting to wear masks and putting on their costumes. And so that's really where I got the thought about masks. But the more I thought about masks, the more I realized how many masks we do wear. There have been times that given meditations, and even recognizing that if you're going to be entered like into a mystery school, for instance, such as Sakara, that you have to drop your masks. You have to drop all of that outer garb so that you are actually entering into this place in your complete nakedness. But most of the time, even if we didn't have physical clothes on, we would still have masks that we're wearing, because there are certain things that we are covering up, and there are certain things that we are actually desiring to project. And so masks are a very, very interesting thing. Uh, in ancient Egypt, the main reason that they had masks was for the ceremony of the dead. But of course, it was also used for other reasons, for initiatory reasons, and also, yes, like I said, initiatory reasons. And as I mentioned last Thursday, that pharaohs, and specifically, if you were a woman pharaoh like Hatshepsut, she herself would put on her little goatee, and she would put on this face, making her look more like she was a male. The intention of that was that she was projecting the masculine part of herself. It wasn't that they didn't know that she was not a male, but by her wearing this disguise as if looking like a man, it was actually symbolic of her bringing forth that masculine energy that lies within her, that ability to be of great leadership and of wisdom, and the different qualities that go along with what the masculine energy would provide. In ancient Egypt, you also saw and do see, if you go back to Egypt, you see these statues of the pharaohs, and they're huge. They were men. They were not very tall, but they put on this facade. This is the facade they wanted to project, was that they were these magnificent beings. And so their statues, they built them larger and larger and larger to make it look as though they were more than they actually were. Yes, they were the ones that were to have that connection with the divine, because the pharaohs were the ones that were considered to be the ones that living in what's considered Upper Egypt, and which means that they had gone through the different initiatory processes, so that they could have a closer connection with God. And oftentimes of course, they said they were God. Now that changed a little bit during Akhenaten's time. And Akhenaten, it's interesting because, of course, he was wiped out of the history books because he was the rebellious one, in a sense. He wanted to start a new kingdom. And what he was basically trying to show was that there was only one God. In other words, there is the one, the all, that it's all-encompassing. And when he started his kingdom, the new kingdom, he was the first to actually allow drawings to be made of how individuals actually looked physically. And Akhenaten was not the most handsome man in the world, to tell you the truth. You see his pictures. He was basically, he had features of the feminine and the masculine, which in a sense was balance, but it wasn't necessarily showing so much outer beauty. So up to that point in time, they in the ancient times, in ancient Egyptian times, they didn't even show um, other than this beauty of the pharaohs and the queens. They were always they had their masks, and they wore their makeup and so on, showing them to be the most beautiful beings ever. But he actually allowed the ones that were the artists to start sketching how they actually looked. And so for me, that shows even more, because he was able to drop those masks, that mask of being this huge leader, and showing that he was a common man, and but he had features of both the masculine and feminine energies within him, and they showed in his physical stature. So very untypical for the pharaohs and the queens before that time. So, but Neshi, we spoke a little bit about the masks, the masks of the dead, and when they were buried, how they were put into their caskets, and they, of course, their masks were absolutely beautiful. They were. Thank you for sharing that of Tutankhamun, and they were made of gold. And when you looked at that mask, it showed the preciousness, the in a sense the sacredness, and the high vibration that goes along with that coloration, showing that that particular pharaoh had carried those qualities, within him. And he also, of course, has got on his mask, he's got the snakes, which has to do with the Kundalini energy. Isn't that right? His headdress shows the snakes, right? Yes. And oftentimes, in ancient Egypt, the pharaohs and the queens, they had their totem animals, and they would at times actually wear those particular masks of the different animals, because that was then projecting the energy vibration of what that particular totem animal represented. So depending on what it was they were learning, what it was that they were trying to pursue within themselves as far as their growth, and it was all a spiritual growth.
Right.
But so
their
yes.
So their death masks were really a symbol of how they grew as humans, actually, the ascension, actually,
Right.
And as leaders, as the pharaoh, they were meant to be gods, right? To be depicted as gods, and they were gods in that time.
Right. And it was because they had gone through the initiatory processes. They'd gone through those different levels. We talk about the chakra system, and they're activating their Kundalini energy and moving through the lower part of themselves, and then moving into the higher aspects of themselves. And that's really what Egypt represents. Anyhow, the country itself is that balance of where they had blended together, and they're functioning both on the higher realm and on what's considered the lower realm. It's not, none of it's really low, but the earthly realm. So they connected themselves, and the gold is precious. It's rich. So they climbed to that level. They went through those initiations to be able to have that representation and of that they were in a sense the shining ones, because the sun strikes that gold. What does it do? But it glitters and it shines, and it shows the richness of who it is that they are. So masks were used back in the ancient times. I spoke with you a little bit about, like in the native traditions and the indigenous traditions, the different ways that they would present their masks. And they, you know, by the way their face was painted. You know, you talked about the soldiers having, yes, or, you know, having war paint, for instance.
Right.
And so war paint, they were certain colors, and they were put on the face certain ways, and the way that it was put on represented which level of consciousness they were basically at, because they all had to work their way up to become, quote, the chief, become, you know, that enlightened one. So this is used throughout history in different ways. But what I want to focus a little bit into right now is the masks that we wear. And because we have 4 bodies, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, and we have within ourselves, because we are still growing and becoming, we have areas of insecurity. We carry fears, and sometimes we put on that face of being the braggart because we really are insecure in our intelligence. So they're all masks. They're not masks that, well, in a sense, they do change our features if we are, depending on what mask we're wearing, because most of the time they can be seen through. But, you know, we want to project to the outer world that we're secure and that we are balanced, all kinds of things, because that's what society expects of us. And so we put on these masks, and the truth being that the more that you remove those types of masks, whether it's insecurity of the intellectual, mental, emotional, physical also, or spiritual, because we also wear spiritual masks, that because we're trying to show others what we are when possible we aren't. But the more that we start to remove those masks, that is when we actually become that one that is that glowing divine, I'm going to say in a sense, the diamond. They become the radiance of the sun. As it radiates from the sun, because they've removed their mask. They've polished all of their different facets of the diamond so that they could become and actually be that light. And the more that you focus your attention on doing that, of eliminating those different masks that we carry, of insecurity and so on, that the more polished we become, and the more our life becomes, you know, better. And there's no more secrets. It's like you can totally expose yourself, because you're not hiding anything anymore. With that, there comes such freedom.
Yes.
So masks, we wear them. We all do. But and they are, in a sense, they're important for us to wear, because they are our tools. They're also our challenges, and every challenge that we have carries with it a gift, because when we get beyond that challenge, we can then move into that next level. Carl's got something to add.
When I get dressed in the morning, I'm in the closet picking out what I'm going to wear. And our clothes are actually the mask that we're wearing. They're the image we want to project. They're what it is we want to reflect that day to others. And I literally ask myself, you know, what do I want to project of myself today? How do I want other people to see me? And what is it that I want my clothes to say? And the old saying, dress for success. Yes, that's a mask. But we all wear masks. And the one thing that we are all hiding with our masks is the deepest, most important essence of ourself. And that's our divinity. We're hiding our soul with all of these projections that we are making. And if we could simply allow our soul to express uninhibited, without restriction, through our physical, mental, and emotional bodies, that is the only way that it's possible for us to be truly authentic. And if we have the courage to do that, that invites others to do the same. And as we meet with one another on a divine level, can you imagine what not only your life, but what the entire world could be like?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we wear all of masks, many, many different masks every day in each situation, but are you letting the divine essence shine through? And if so, congratulations, because you are doing what I believe that we have all come here to do and become.
Yeah. Oh, I just loved what you just said, Carl, because it's true. We all have masks, more than one. And some of them have been created to be coping mechanisms, right? To get through parts of our life. And others, I think it has to do with our definitions of different aspects of our life. You know, what do we define success as? And those kinds of things. And so, you know, I think that we get to a maturation, and it doesn't matter what your linear age is, but a certain maturation, and you start to realize how much energy you're using to keep certain masks in place. And it's tiring. There's a fatigue to it, right? And so I think we get to a certain point in our lives where we say, you know what, I don't really need this one, or I don't want this one anymore. And then we start allowing others to see that aspect of us, as Ortrun was saying, that diamond, because I was seeing the different facets, right, of that diamond, that part of us gets to be seen and to shine, even though we may have other masks still in place. I think that makes us interesting, two-leggeds here on Earth, because I think we're the only ones that do that. Humans are the only ones that do that.
Well, it's interesting because it is, you know, Carl said the clothing, because that's true, you know, dress for success. But then it goes even further than that, because what kind of a car do you drive?
Mm-hmm.
What is important to you to have in your home? And not that any of it is bad or good necessarily, but
Mm-hmm.
what needs to be done is we need to evaluate, as you said, and see what is no longer a part of us, what no longer helps us to be, keeps us from being happy, to
Yes.
feel free.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching, it was a show the other night. It actually had George Clooney in it. And he was giving this seminar, and he walks in with his, it was just a backpack. And in that backpack, he talks about everything that we carry with us. So, and then he starts saying, okay, you know, this backpack, take out your backpack, it's empty, and start placing in there all the things that burden you.
Mm-hmm.
And he started saying, you know, starting with maybe emotional things that you have, put those in there. All the physical possessions that you have, how they entrap you, and how they keep putting more and more of weight on you, more and more of a burden on you.
Mm-hmm.
And he keeps going on and on and on. So, you know, your house, your car, because of all the time that you have to spend to maintain, to keep that, whatever it is you have, going.
Mm-hmm.
How much time and energy that has to be put into that. And to see, is this really worth it? And if not, you know, because what I was just seeing, when Carl talked about the clothing too, I was seeing us standing there in this coat of armor, this heavy coat of armor,
Yeah.
just walking around, because we have all these things that we think people will expect of us, or people that we want to project to people. So just to, and it's not really the true us.
Mm-hmm.
It is not that fully realized self that you are. And that's what they speak about again in the ancient Egyptians, the fully realized self.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that it's a process. But yet, on the other hand, I do think the reason why this comes into our life is so that we can walk through those experiences of having those things, the things that burden us, because it is also that which will allow us to grow beyond it, to learn about it, to learn to understand it, but yet to recognize, okay, this isn't necessary for me to be this divine being that I am. So I'm ready now to give it up.
Yeah, Mass allow us to experience and express different aspects of ourselves. And it isn't just humans that have Mass. Right now, if you live at least in Michigan, the trees have disguised themselves. They put on a mask.
Oh.
And they're absolutely gorgeous. They're awe-inspiring. But in another couple of weeks, they're going to be bare. All right. And in the spring, they're going to be awe-inspiring again, not only putting out leaves, but also the many bushes and plants that flower. They're experiencing and expressing different aspects of themselves. Now, I just, the thought hit me. The moon always looks the same. So does the sun. They don't have mass. They don't wear mass. But there's so much on the earth that does change.
Mm-hmm.
And you might want to say that mass equal change, because we can take a mask off, we can put a mask on.
Mm-hmm.
And the mask that we put on may be slightly different than the mask that we put on last year or last week or yesterday when we were in similar situations.
Mm-hmm.
So they can be a reflection of where we are in our own consciousness at that moment.
Yeah. You know what springs to mind, Carl, on that is that when you're doing life scripts for people, and you get to know them, right? Is that when they're in the fifth dimension or even the fourth dimension, do you have a sense of the use of masks or the shifting, I should say, the change?
Yes, their energy is very, very different. And I think that if you monitor yourself, when you go into meditation, the shift that takes place, and mass are just one way of, I guess, describing or understanding it. I personally prefer levels of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And each level of consciousness carries with it its own outer projection of the person that we are.
Mm-hmm.
Doing your life script readings, Carl, though, you can see that mask changing within the person.
Exactly.
Because
yes.
they come at a certain vibratory frequency, and by the time they leave, after having had the life script, or even healing, for instance, where people come to me for healing, and I know, the energy work that you do also, and as she see the difference of where they were at when they came in, and then maybe an hour later, the difference that time has made, because it's allowed them to start peeling off those masks and actually see their inner essence.
Okay, it isn't just peeling off a mask, but I know in a life script reading and the work that Ortrun does, what we're helping them do is to build a new mask, one that they feel a lot more comfortable with, one in which they feel more loving, more self-confident, more self-assured, more at one with themselves and their world.
The question pops into my mind that why do you suppose we need to even create a new mask. If we're healing and we're having more and more access to our original vibration, right? Um, or that our frequency is at another dimension, dimensional shift. What would the mask creation provide for us that our soul wouldn't be able to do on its own?
You know, I'm not even comfortable with the word mass. Okay. What we're projecting is our persona,
Yeah, yeah,
personality, the person we are then.
yeah.
And different masks are simply showing that we're all very, very versatile, that
Hmm.
we have many aspects to who we are.
Hmm.
We're referring to those as masks when in reality, they're all the same person.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was actually thinking about there could be positive uses and a positive reason to have
Yes.
a mask. But generally, when we're talking about masks outside of Halloween, is that many times it's camouflage. It's that there's a part of us that we don't want others to see. That it's almost like a coping mechanism, is that I can keep that part of myself safe, or I don't have to tell somebody about that part of me. And so that mask is really about protection, I guess, in a way.
Mhm. Well, I think that the reason that the whole thing with the masks right now is because, Halloween is coming up.
Hmm.
So, we either dress up as someone that we really want to be at this point in time, or so it gives us that opportunity to dress up like that one that we are, the goal that we have, for instance, right? And or as you said, it can cover up fears and so on. And I'm going to go back to like my little children when this one year, and maybe I've mentioned this to you before. Maybe I mentioned it last time. I don't know, but we it was a child's place, but it was a haunted house, right? And so the children were all excited about going, to this haunted house, and I can't even remember what my one son dressed up as. He would have been probably in second grade. And my youngest one, he was in kindergarten. I remember my youngest one dressing up as Bugs Bunny. And so we go to this haunted house, and I think it was even my older one that really wanted to go more than not. We got there and we were on the porch and we're just sort of being shoved into this house because there's so many people. And all of a sudden, my older son, I mean, he started screaming. He was scared to death of this whole thing. And my little one, the kindergartner one, he says, "I'll protect us with my Bugs Bunny mask." So putting on that mask was his protection. It was, and his security. The thing of it is that we have with us these totem animals and so
Yeah.
on that we see that they are also our protection, and that's why they're with us, and that's what we need at that particular time.
Yeah.
But the thing is, on the other hand, my older son, Halloween became his favorite holiday. So what he did, because of that fear that he had, he wanted to go. I mean, he really wanted to go, but then when he got there, he was scared to death. But he had a fear that he needed to overcome. And by going there, at least having the courage just to even go there.
Yeah.
And as time went on, it became his favorite holiday because he worked through that fear, so that he could then, enjoy that day and see that opposite side, of that coin.
Yeah.
I also think masks this time of year, why it comes up is because of Halloween, the eve of the Hallow Eve, the eve of the Holy, and then the next day being, the
All Saints Day.
Saints Day.
Yeah.
So symbolically, I see a representation there.
Mhm.
And you're wearing the mask. One of them is to ward off evil and so on. And yet on the other hand, it's just like, they call it the evil eye that the I know the Greeks wear them, and many of the Eastern countries wear them. The evil eye, they call it evil eye, but really it is the eye of Horus. It's the eye, it's the eye that protects you.
Yeah.
So it can be looked at in a different way, and so it can be flipped. So Halloween is one aspect of it. The next day it's flipped to All Saints Day, because by first coming from that space of fear, move that into the holiness of that day.
Right.
So,
in the October issue of Star Nations magazine, one of our contributing writers, Carla Jo Worth, wrote an article. It's fascinating because The Eclectic Pagan is the name of her column, and she was telling us about the anthology, if you will, of Halloween and masks. And in her article, the title is "What Mask Will You Wear?" And she tells us in her article that in the beginning for Halloween, wearing the masks was actually to disguise themselves from, I'm going to call him the Grim Reaper. That's not what she called him, though. There was a different name that she gave him, or that energy. And so it was really to save themselves from death. And so if they disguised themselves and they looked like other demons and all of that, that they would be left alone. They wouldn't die that night, because the veil was so thin between the two worlds that it was easier to wear this mask and to pass a little bit more safely. And so she describes that for us. It's really an educational piece. But she also touched on what we were talking about, is the disguise and hiding your true self. And so what masks are you going to wear, kind of thing.
Okay.
But when you brought up Halloween, All Hallows Eve and All Saints Day, that reminded me of her article. And I do have one picture here, and now this is more on a cultural basis, but this is out of Mexico, and so that they wear these kind of masks of deities to take on the persona of the deity, but that's also so that they can pass safely from one dimension to another. And it's really kind of similar to our All Hallows Eve, to do that kind of masking of ourselves, right?
Yeah. Now, of course, then there's All Saints Day, but then there's also All Souls Day, because All Saints, they actually achieved mastery. The All Souls are the ones that are still possibly floating around. But they might be here on this earth plane, but they might also be on the astral plane. Or they may be, of course, in the higher realms also. But so to be gracious and give an honor, no matter where they are, whether it's in the earthly realm or in the in-between realm or in the heavenly realm.
Right.
Yeah. So Carl, I mean, you and I, we spoke about this just earlier. So Carl, you do lots of work in the astral plane. So do you ever come across anyone or anything that may seem as though they're wearing a mask?
Yes, the ones that stand out I call them the Dark Lords. And these are very powerful beings because they have recruited, and I might even say intimidated, people to join their group. And in joining them, the Dark Lord takes much of their energy. And because they've lost most of their energy, they don't have the strength to leave. So they're really, I'm going to say, held captive. Well, these Dark Lords, they're looking out for themselves. And their primary food is fear. And the more fear they can engender and create, the stronger they become and the more powerful they feel. And in doing the clearing work that I do every day, that is working with people on the astral plane who are ready to leave the astral plane and move into the heavenly plane. There are often dark lords there because some of these people are a member of their group and they don't want to lose them. Okay. So, and I used to deal with them, but it took a lot of energy, and Ortrun being as sensitive, it was really hard on her. So I don't deal with them now. But what I do is I call in archangels to deal with them. And they are happy to do this, and they're very effective at it. But these dark lords will shapeshift.
Yeah.
They will move themselves from one place to another because they don't want to go with the archangels, because they know if they go to the archangels, number one, they're going to lose much of their power coming from all of the people that they have, quote, captured. And secondly, they're going to have to become something differently than they are. And the archangels give them a choice. You can go to the light school and become a very powerful light worker, or we can send you to another planet and you will take on a life form there that reflects your level of consciousness. I mean, it may be a snake, it may be a spider, it may be whatever life form is there that's at their level of consciousness. And that means then that they will start the evolutionary track
over.
Yes. About 90% choose to go to the light school. But I don't know how many, it's been, at this time, I would say it's been thousands of dark lords that have gone through this. But it's interesting how they try to escape, the archangels, which is they're putting on their mask because they don't want to have to take the consequences of what they do and who they are.
Right. Yeah. And so, I think that's where, especially light workers or energy workers who might just be starting out in their practices, or even people who've been around the block a few times, that learning to discern.
Yes.
Learning to discern what's real in that astral plane and what is trying to trick you in that astral plane. Yeah. Do you have any tips for them, Carl and Ortrun? Just since I mentioned it, I know people are going to start asking, well, what do I do then? Are there any kind of tips or rules of thumb or anything that you might share with them?
Yes. Please, 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 when you leave your physical body in the process that we call death, you're going to go through what feels like a tunnel. And you're going to be attracted to a white light. And when you get to the light, it's going to be a tunnel of light. And when you go into the tunnel, that is the entrance to heaven. And if for whatever reason you choose not to go into the tunnel, and it's your choice, all right? If you choose not to go into the tunnel it's gone, it's disappeared. And you are stuck in what is referred to as the astral plane. And you will generally gravitate to a group that is whose consciousness you're comfortable with because it's similar to your own, all right? But even at the highest levels of the astral plane, there are still dark lords recruiting, making promises, putting forth, just a really good, holy kind of a face that they're going to do all kinds of things for them. And once you agree, zap, you're stuck. You've lost most of your energy and don't really have the ability to escape. So when you time for you to make your transition, do not hesitate, go into the tunnel of light. And what's going to happen to you there is you're going to be reunited with your light body, which carries all of your memory going back to when you first were given a soul. So we trade our physical body in for our body. That's a good trade.
Yeah, I think so.
Usually the physical body's breaking down by that time. So.
No, he's talking about when you're transitioning and because of death. I think you were asking about us
Yeah.
in our daily life.
Mhm.
And especially there are so many people that are just coming into this arena of spirituality and metaphysics, and they're starting to maybe see visions.
Mhm.
And so that's a time that you need to really be careful also as to whether someone might be wearing a mask and disguising themselves as to who they really are or not.
Mhm.
But the thing, more first and foremost, whether it is that you're working on yourself or whether you're working with someone else, um, make certain that you always, always connect with that divine essence within you.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yes.
wherever you are in your process, get beyond the ego, because that's the biggest trap of all. Is
Mhm.
is the ego is thinking, oh wow, I'm starting to see something. I'm starting to communicate with something other than the physical realm, and feeling that this is making you a little bit more grand than what maybe you are. I mean, not that you're not grand, because you are, but feeding your ego. If you find something is feeding your ego, there's a mask that's being presented to you. It's not, it isn't truth. So it's important that when you start communicating with other realms, that there's a sense um, of peace and joy within your heart, within it. If you have that sense, that inner essence and recognition that this really feels good, then go with it. But if you have hesitancy about it, don't go with it at that time, because it's like working with your brain. You know, we have thoughts coming through, because that's in itself can be uh, a mass coming through, and it may sound good, but it's not necessarily so good, or it may sound too good to be true. Those are things to watch for, and take it into your meditation with conviction that you want to resolve this, and to be connected if it is of truth. So be sincere about your journey. Uh, and then before you know it, you'll be able to separate something that's coming in, or maybe it's a message that's not so positive that's coming in. If it keeps coming back, take a look at it. But if it
Mhm.
doesn't look good, you don't belong here.
Mhm.
This is your space, because they want to come in and they want to invade your space, your territory.
Yeah.
But make certain that you are firm about that. And even when you are learning to meditate and move into other realms, if there's something's pulling you back at that point in time, back off, and then
Mhm.
put yourself again in meditation, and surround yourself knowing that you have masters, guides, teachers with you, and then try going further into meditation, uh,
Mhm.
because there are sensations that come along with that training, and some may not necessarily feel so good, and you may question it. It may scare you at first, but the thing is if you put yourself in that space of, I'm surrounded, I'm protected, only that which is at the highest is with me, then you will be able to walk through those
Mhm.
areas that might feel uncomfortable for you, or
Mhm.
things that might pull you into fear. Because
Yeah.
even that sense that's wanting to pull you into fear, that more than likely, if there isn't supposed to be anything, it's again coming out of something within yourself. It's something that you're carrying within yourself that needs to be resolved.
Mhm.
And as you resolve it, that falls away,
Yeah.
and you can grow and go even further and further up into your on your scale, on your stairway, on your journey.
On your journey. Well, there's a couple of things in there, what you both have mentioned, and one is to have healthy boundaries, not just in your physical life, but also in your spiritual life.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Who you're going to let in and who you're not going to let in, and your spiritual team or your spiritual family can actually help you hold those boundaries. You need to ask them to do that for you, but they're there to help you with that. Um, And so, and you can also ask them to help you to learn how to be more discerning, trusting your intuition.
Yes.
If it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't right.
Yeah.
And there's also a universal law that says that when you ask a spirit or a lords of darkness, can tell me the truth. Can you tell me the truth on that? And by universal law, they have to tell you the truth. And if they tell you no, I can't tell you the truth on that, you just outed them. It's like, then go away. Then go away. Because I only want truth and of the highest vibration here. And so it really is setting your boundaries and also speaking your own truth. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to emphasize, you said something that I want to stress here.
Sure.
When you ask that I only want the truth, and I would specify the truth coming from the highest sources I can receive. The truth coming from a third dimensional consciousness can be quite different than the truth coming from a fifth dimensional level of consciousness.
So true. So true. Wow. Did we go some on masks or what? That was pretty good. Now, Ortrun, do you want to do a meditation tonight?
Do we have time?
It's about 10 to. And so we do have time if you'd like.
Are there any questions? Does anyone have any questions or any comments?
Okay. Let's see.
That would be nice, I think.
Well, Rob, when we were talking about, I think the Lords of Darkness, I think this was Rob's comment. It wasn't really quite a question. It was more like a statement.
Rob, I absolutely agree with you, which is why I'm no longer a minister in an organized religion.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the only thing that's only count. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why don't we take a couple minutes and just bring ourselves into that divine essence, that divine space. So close your eyes and allow yourself to become still and to be at peace. To be at peace. Be still and know that I am God. Listen to that divine voice within that speaks to you and says, I am that I am. Find the essence of this energy within yourself. Sense its vibration. Is it a vibration of love and peace and joy? If so, accept it in your heart and in your mind. If there is hesitancy, ask that your divine ones, your angels, your guides, your masters, surround you, enfold you, protect you. And again, sense the energy. Does the energy feel peaceful and joyful? The energy that has come to you. The one that might be bearing gifts, promising you the essence of that which is gold and silver, riches. With the divine ones, your divine ones surrounding you, how does that energy feel? Does it feel truthful? Does it feel harmonious? Does it uplift you in spirit? If so, accept it in your heart. Accept it in your mind. Accept it in every fiber of your being. Know that it is of the light. Know that it is of the highest good. And now in this space, take a moment and stand before a mirror. As you look into this mirror, it is the mirror of truth. Look into the mirror and see the reflection that it gives. What is it showing within your face? Is the face or the mask that you are projecting, is it one of love, peace, and joy? If not, ask that your divine masters and healers remove that mask from you and allow them to realign the mask that you have handed to them. For you are ready to wear this mask of truth, to wear the mask of peace, of joy, of goodness, to become that projection of the I am that I am. So the divine ones that look at the mask you have handed them, see them disassembling it piece by piece. See them alchemically changing the energy vibration of these pieces. See them taking pieces away and handing it off to the planet, to the universe, to be used somewhere else, and have them choose the piece that is appropriate to put in its place. And as they continue to work with this mask that you are, more and more beautiful it becomes. For this mask is now a mask of light. It is transparent. It is one that is filled with love and with peace and with joy. And when your team of healers is finished having reconstructed it, find yourself now in front of this mirror again and placing this new gift, this new projection that you will be showing upon you. It is upon your face. Your face is glowing. It is glowing like the radiance of the sun. It is beautiful. And you see them handing even more to you. It's like a suit of armor that is made of gold, of stardust, of divine energy. Find yourself stepping into this suit of gold, this armor of protection. Instead of it being weighty, it lightens your being. It lightens your step. It puts a smile upon your face. You look into the eyes. Look into this mirror and look into the eyes and see this radiance projecting from it. And as you look at all of yourself, it seems as though this divine, beautiful essence of love, peace, joy, goodness, and strength is emanating from every pore of your being. Your heart is beating slowly and gently. And your heart is connected to the aspect of the divine, your soul. Your heart is beating with the soul's heart, the heart and mind of the Creator, a being of light, uplifted, filled with love and peace. The radiance of this one that you truly are shines every direction around you, and it finds a circle of energy all around you, above you, below you, a ball of light. One that has united with the true I am, the fully realized self. Know that this is who you are. And from this forward, nothing less radiates from you. Nothing less than this energy comes to you. For you are the divine. You are the divine. And so it is. So it is. And so it shall be.
Thank you, Ortrun.
Yeah, that was wow. That was very good. Thank you. Thank you.
You're more than welcome.
Mm.
So those of you out in the audience, if you desire to bring yourself back, do so. If you're in space where you can continue staying in that, knowing that sense, that beauty, that love, allow yourself to do that, whatever it is that you desire.
Mm. Well, that was some discussion we had about masks, and to end our show with that meditation is perfect. Perfect.
Good.
Is there anything that you'd like to leave with the audience before we say goodnight?
Well, you are beautiful beings of light, and my impression of you is that, and that is what I'm going to see before me, whether it is that I see you in person, or whether it is that I see you in my dreams, or wherever I might meet you, and know that this is what you truly are, and
Mhm.
that, and carry that throughout the planet.
As you go forward, communicate with your soul, invite it to take control of your mind, your emotions, your physical body, and to fully express itself and enjoy itself.
Yes. And as we grow in our spiritual growth, and to be comfortable with discarding masks that no longer serve you and possibly creating ones that do serve you for the
Yeah.
highest good, for the highest good. So, and thank you to all that joined us this evening in the live chat and those who'll be watching the recorded show. Thank you so much. We'll be back next month, the Mystery School, the Mystery School, on the last Thursday.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween and happy Samhain. There you go.
Yeah.
With that, good night, everybody.
Good night,
Good night.
everyone. Thank you for being with us.